Welcome back to the Maker Show. My name is Jeff Krepke, and today we're going to go ahead and go over how to set up the firmware using the Repetier configuration tool, which is awesome. It's all web-based, easy to customize, change options, that kind of thing. So once we've got this, we'll save this file. So if we add in perhaps a screen in the future, we can just go ahead and upload that configuration file we used currently with one that supports a video screen or some display. So without further ado, here it is. I appreciate it. Welcome back to the Maker Show. Today we're going to go ahead and look at making a custom firmware for your 3D printer. This is especially helpful for ones like this that are not your typical run-of-the-mill MakerBot, Ultramaker, those kind of mainstream 3D printers. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go over to host and then download. And this is where it's going to ask for a suggested donation. Today we're going to go ahead and download without a donation. And then right here, this is what we're looking for, the Repetier firmware 0.92x with the configuration tool. So we're going to click on that. Okay, so this is the start of it right now. This is a web-based program. It helps you. So before we get any farther, I'm going to go ahead and check my device manager here under ports, and then the Arduino 2560. It's on port 3. We'll have to remember that, and we can go to port settings, and right now it's set at 115,200 baud. We have the option going up to 2,800. I'll go ahead and keep it at that 115200. We'll have to remember that number when we're setting up the firmware. So we can just go OK here, OK. And this is a new option to upload an old configuration, but it has to be a configuration that had been done with this tool here. So I don't have that, so I'm going to go ahead and go to next step. The configuration level, that's correct. I have a ramps 1.4. Let's check the Cartesian. I'm just going to go ahead and choose the Corinthians printer. I'm pretty sure that's the one. A Delta printer is the 3-arm one that you see a lot as well. I'm not quite sure what these other Axis ones, the H gantry ones, but that would be a pretty interesting thing to look up. So you might see a video later on that. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to choose the set 1 on the EEPROM that has been set in the thing by Bob CNC. He loaded the EEPROM, so it should be right. This one, okay, we're just going to go for default port, and that's that 15200. That's what we want. I don't have a Bluetooth on it, so that doesn't really even matter. The reset control, that's good, and that will not reset separate communication chips. So that's something let's see what options we have on that. Disable heaters, wait forever. I'm going to leave it at the default. Startup G code, this would be if your printer needed a set of codes to start up. Mine doesn't, so the X position is 0, Y position 0, X position is 0, minimum position is 0. Mine is a 200 by 200, and this I'm going to increase to the length is about 210. Not that I'll ever get up to that height. And that's about calibrating your your Delta printer. We don't have a Delta printer, so we're not going to worry about that. This I don't have a Z probe yet on mine, so but if I did, that would be great. You would set those for your Z probe to for your automatic bed leveling. Okay, so a lot of this will be, here's one for backlash compensation, loud quad stepping, and I'm not going to mess with any of this. Some of this is also set in the EEPROM, so, and this actually goes down. There's more settings here. We're going to go ahead and leave everything at defaults. Okay, this is one thing right here. These are the end stops. This is really important to get set up correctly. Okay, Z homing is going to be homing in the, that's not going to be homed. That's going to be homed on the top, because that's a Z maximum limit switch on this printer. Homing in the negative direction, so these two would be correct. The homing order, I'm going to say YZ and then YX and then Z would probably be your best to go there. And this one is definitely set up, this board is set up to switch on ground, and it's normally open. Those are correct. This is not installed. I do not have a Z minimum, but I do have a Z maximum, so I'm going to go ahead and set that to open as well. And this is the default. These are the pins on the actual ramps 1.4 board. End stop distance after homing. I'm going to put this up to 5 and 5. This is like homes, and then it goes in a little bit. So I'm not going to mess with the Z though. These I'm all going to leave at defaults. This is your laser and cutter and mill support. You can actually run a mill with the same software, or a laser cutter. We don't have it. We have the fused filament fabrication, which is a 3D printer standard. Temperature control. I'm going to go ahead and leave these at the defaults. Okay, and the extruder is on extruder number 0 on the board. This is where you invert the motor direction. Z offset 0. These are offsets, acceleration. These are at the normal. I suppose if you had like a circuit that was burned out, you could select a different pins, which is very helpful, because Arduino is totally compatible. You know, you just need to tell it which pin to go to. So that's it's real customizable. Maximum power value is basically on all the time. That's good. Extruder cooler pin. Okay, there's no pin, or it's disabled. So okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to the next step. We don't have Z probing. We're We don't have any servos. We could use a servo for our minimum probe. Enable arc support, memory move. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave these mostly at default. Okay. That's interesting. That ATX power on pin. So if you're running the printer with an ATX power supply, you could use that to wake the big power supply up. Okay, so our bed coating is basically a piece of plexiglass, so that's not a big deal. Bed coating thickness. Okay, so basically if you put like painter's tape down on the bed of the printer, that would be a coating thickness. I'm going to go ahead and leave it all at standard, basically off. Drive motor. Okay, so if you had an extra drive motor, I'm not sure what you'd do with it. You know, if you had something you needed to drive, maybe an automatic spool unreeler or something like that, you'd want an extra motor driver. We don't have that. Okay, so on our board we have no display. It looks like there's quite a range of different LCD and controller boards and different displays that it would work with. We might cover that in an upcoming episode where I end up adding a screen to the printer, but for right now we're going to go with no display. Manual additions, if you had anything you wanted to put in there manually. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and download complete firmware including these settings. So we're going to click on that. We're going to save as to my desktop and save. And then I'm interested in what this looks like. So I don't think is required because that's already going to be put in there, and then we'll download this one as well. Okay, so that's how to go through the configuration tool, guys. Next video I'm going to go ahead and we'll install that firmware to the printer. Thanks a lot. Well, that was how to install the configuration tool for the firmware for Repetier. That's a great web interface. It comes up with the firmware in Arduino Farm that it can just read and install for you. So it couldn't get any easier, guys, to set up your firmware. I tried to do it the old-fashioned way, going through the configuration H file, and that thing is a nightmare. It's like 25 pages, so different configurations. You know, hard to understand. That web interface just makes it so much easier to set what you want. So if you like the video, please like, subscribe, and comment, and I hope I see you again. Thank you.